Hello and good afternoon. It's Carl Marsh from InTheWordsOf. Today I'm going to be doing an interview with Calvin Robinson, who's the campaign champion for Defund the BBC. Let me know what you think about this interview, and if you do like it, if you can share it or send links to it, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Hi Calvin, how are you going?
Not bad, thanks for having me on.
Oh, cool. Can I just ask you, what was the tipping point for you to sort of go, to create the Defund the BBC?
So I got involved. I didn't create it. It was James Ugel, a young conservative chap on Twitter, who created it, a friend of mine. And it became a grassroots movement, I think. So many people are fed up of so many different aspects of the BBC. But the reason I got involved, the reason I joined, was mostly the bias, to be honest with you, Carl. I think, I used to watch the BBC before I cancelled my licence fee, and I just got sick and tired of them lecturing me. It feels like every single programme now has a message that they want to, tell everyone you're a bad person. And it's like, I don't think I am a bad guy, but, if I don't prescribe to their worldview, I get that feeling that I am. It's not, that's not entertaining. That's not informing. It's lecturing, pretty much.
Yeah, because I think with the BBC, I've got to remain neutral in this, but I think the main gripe I've got, well, there's a few gripes, is my father's 76, and I know that the BBC is now making over 75s who've worked to pay for it. And also during lockdown, the content's just got worse and worse. They put a lot of repeats on there. They've not come about and said, we're going to offer a reduction to anybody. And also, I don't watch the BBC. I maybe watch Line of Duty, which I think is the last thing I watched maybe last year.
Is that the one with Lawrence Fox?
Line of Duty is the one with, it's about the police officers.
Okay. I don't watch any BBC content anymore.
No, it's not Lawrence Fox, no. But that's the last thing I watched. But I know that you can get that on Netflix. I mean, there obviously are many platforms out there, not just Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney, I've got to mention them all. But I only subscribe to, I subscribe to Amazon and Netflix, and I pay.
Well, this is the thing, you subscribe to them, don't you? You choose, you opt in to those services. With the BBC, you're forced to pay for it through threat of imprisonment, It doesn't matter if you're watching Channel 3, Channel 4, Channel 5, whatever, you still have to pay the BBC this TV tax. How does that make sense this day and age? I don't get it.
It's completely draconian, isn't it?
It is very draconian. That's a good word for it. It's antiquated, it's kind of outdated, and they need to get up to date. Otherwise, they're going to get defunct. And that's what this model is all about. That's what this Defund the BBC campaign is all about. It's like, look, you may have been the only live TV series or channels back in the day, like decades ago. You're not anymore. You don't have a monopoly over streamed content. It's not fair.
And it's just a government mouthpiece, isn't it?
I wouldn't go that far. I don't think they're particularly mouthing conservative views or liberal views. I think they've got their own metropolitan elite. They've got their own set of views that they want to eschew on people. And I don't think that's right. They used to be about balance, didn't they? They used to say, okay, some people believe this, some people believe that. Let's have two different points of view. Now this is the right way. We've seen that this week with the John Amaechi BBC bite-size clip, preaching to little kids about white privilege and how white people are privileged and everyone else is oppressed. It's, okay, if you're going to put that message across, at least let's have some balance. Let's see a different point of view, because that's quite controversial, and that's to treat that as a given or as a fact is quite worrying to me as a school teacher.
Yeah, I always feel that the BBC, they don't know who their audience is, the real audience, because like you just touched on, I know I mentioned about it might have been the government mouthpiece, and I was probably wrong in saying that, because like you say, they're not pro-Tory, not pro-Labour, but I don't know who's in charge, what their sort of strategic plan is, because they're all being, like you said, they on what that thing this week, there's no balance to it. There's not this side, and then there's an alternative version, or the opposite end of the spectrum. There's none of that. It's just, this is what we're going to say, and this is what we're going to put out.
Well, I think you make a good point about the audience, because it seems to me that they're really trying to get these woke people on board. Like that's, young, woke, liberal elites, people who live in London, that's their target audience. But those people aren't interested. You know, young people have got Netflix, Now TV, Amazon Prime, YouTube, all these things. And it's the elderly that traditionally watch the BBC. And these are the ones that they're now going after. These are the ones that, you know, the content isn't aimed at them anymore, but also they're chasing these over 75s, you know, people who have put money into the BBC all their life. They're chasing them for filling the gap in their funding, which is their own silly fault. They're spending £100 million on diversity, which is not actually diversity. They spend £100 million a year on chasing people who don't pay their license fee in time. Like, stop wasting money in those ways. But also, how much do they pay Gary Lineker and, you know, these top celebrities? It's disgusting. It really is. It's a public service. It's our money that's going on these fat cats and celebrities. And then they've got the cheek to say, actually, your grandma needs to give us some money as well. What?
I know.
Why?
Why indeed? It's like they're clutching at straws, because the younger generation, like you say, they eat to the YouTube, it's Netflix, Amazon, Disney, blah, 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 you know, and they're not watching the BBC. If I could throw something into the mix, say something like EastEnders, I don't know anybody that watches EastEnders. I don't know if they fix, I'm not, obviously that's a controversial thing to say by me, but do they fix the viewing figures? I don't believe the viewing figures.
Well, the thing is, they should never have even started EastEnders. EastEnders was a program that they brought out to compete with ITV, who had a very popular soap opera at the time. Yeah. That's not what the BBC is supposed to be there for. They're not supposed to be competing for commercial views against commercial stations. They should be making content that only the BBC can make, you know, documentaries, informative content that no one else would touch because it would cost money without getting advertising figures. And the BBC doesn't need advertisements. So they could just focus on content that people want to see, you know, educate and inform. Don't compete and become a monopoly and push the little guy out of the picture. To what end? It's all bizarre to me.
It is bizarre, and I'm, you know, I've been, again, I pay for the TV license, I do, but right. I have an argument with my wife about it, because I don't watch BBC. I don't. Apart from Line of Duty, which I know you can get, I mentioned earlier, you can get it on Netflix later down the line. You know, I'd even go and buy the DVD if the BBC sold it for, say, £30. I'd go and buy the DVD of it. Yeah. It saved me so much over the year, you know, paying the TV license. But my wife, we have an argument about, you know, I've got to pay, it's only £15 a month or 15, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. I pay by direct debit. Yeah. But what I do know is my Netflix and my Amazon Prime combined is cheaper than the TV license. And that's what grabs me, because I choose to watch one show. I don't watch the news. I don't watch BBC News. I don't watch anything else apart from the show I keep mentioning, Line of Duty. But I just...
No longer value for money, is it, Carl?
Yeah.
You're not getting that value. And they'll say, well, you've got all these channels, BBC Three and all this crap. No one cares about them anyway. Yeah. People don't watch them. So it's not added value. It's just extra stuff to shove down your throat. If you're not wanting BBC content, you shouldn't have to pay for BBC content. And if people like you, you know, you've got your other subscription models, and if your wife watches, you know, say she watches something on ITV or Channel 4, that's fine. Why should your household have to pay more to the BBC than you pay to all those other subscription models combined? None of it makes sense. It's all bizarre. This is what we want to do. So this is why we're doing this campaign, Carl. We want to educate people on how to cancel that license and what they can watch without one and what they can't watch without one, because not everyone needs one. But also we want to decriminalize, you know, people who don't pay the license fee, because right now the courts are clogged up with people, you know, vulnerable people who are being exploited by the BBC, who's splashing out hundreds of millions of pounds chasing these people down. That's not necessary. We want to get that changed by the end of this year. And also we want to kind of change the BBC's charter. So change the whole remit. So rather than them covering all live TV and recorded TV and iPlayer, just let them keep BBC content. And then everyone else can watch all the hundreds of Freeview channels and everything else for free, or pay for those subscription models without having to subscribe to the TV tax that is the TV license.
But do you think it will ever change though? Because I don't know if the charter will, I don't know.
Absolutely. You know, we're halfway through the charter period at the moment, so there is a halfway review, but also the government and including the Prime Minister are discussing it. You know, they're talking about decriminalising as a first point. So this campaign is making headway. People, you know, genuinely care about this issue. People are being robbed nearly £160 a year for something that not a lot of them use anymore.
And can I just ask, I know I mentioned before when I said also when you created the Defund the BBC, I find it hard to try and find any information about behind the scenes, and that's why obviously you sort of told me, obviously you got on board because somebody else obviously created it. How can the people who, just being devil's advocate, know that it's quite transparent, the organisation is Defund the BBC? How can they, can see that the transparency is there, rather than being something like it's created by some right wing or left wing? Well, I won't say left wing, but do you know what I mean?
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, go to defundbbc.uk, and James Ugel is a young chap who started the campaign on Twitter. Myself and Darren Grimes got involved to champion it, because we've got a little bit of a platform to help the cause. Yeah. But other than that, everyone else is on the GoFundMe page, which is gofundme.com/defund-the-BBC. And it's just normal folks contributing whatever little they can to the cause. And, we've got a couple of billboards up now and stuff. We're doing what we can as a group, but it's all out there. We've got a webpage, we've got a Twitter, we've got a GoFundMe. And if you want to get involved, please do.
Yeah, and I've seen the billboards you've got out there, quite impressive. But can I just ask you then, what sort of feedback have you been getting from those in power? I mean, I know these are quite a few MPs that are on board. I follow your feed all the time. But can I just ask you what sort of feedback you've had from those in power that maybe have not been so obvious in their tweets or their Facebook?
Well, I would say most of our feedback comes from ordinary folk, people tweeting us, Facebooking us, etc. And we are putting that out there, putting that message out there, and that is being seen by the people in power. That's the whole point of this campaign. We've got a bit of a profile to get the message home, and they're seeing how important it is to normal folk and how many normal people care about this issue, from the bias, from the bloat and the waste, and from the criminalisation. These three main issues, different people care about each different issue in different ways, but there are a lot of them. We've got over 90,000 people on our Twitter at the moment, and we've got more people on our GoFundMe. And that's what people in power care about, numbers and people and ordinary folks that are voting for them. So I think the message is getting home. I think it's being discussed in Parliament, and I think we're going to get to a point where something is going to have to change, and the BBC can't continue as they are.
And like you just said then, I mean, to follow on from that, I've been checking a lot of polls online, maybe on Twitter polls, about people saying, do you think the BBC should be defunded? Not on your side, this is from individuals. And I saw one this morning, it was something like 2,600 votes, and it was, I'm not joking, it was 96% was in favour of defunding the BBC, 4% was to keep it. And so, like you said, people in power have got to take, as employed people politically, have got to see this as what the public are voting for. 96% against 4% is astronomical.
Yeah, and to me, it doesn't even matter what the percentage is. If it's leaning in one way, it's got to be handled, and it seems that it is. That's an outstanding ratio there. So people have to pay attention. They have to do something about it.
And maybe that if the opposing government party, say Labour, at the next election wants to say, well, we're going to defund the BBC, this might be something that they plough ahead with.
Right, yeah, it could be a platform that they stand on. I'm not sure what the Labour Party or the Conservative Party stance is on the BBC, to be fair with you. All I know is that the government has started to take notice that normal people care about this issue.
And I know before you mentioned about the astronomical fees, salaries that are paid to, I'd say, the likes of Gary Lineker and so on.
Yeah.
How has it come to this? How has it come to this? Because I know back in the day they used to got to say good wages, but this is just ridiculous what they get paid.
It is, isn't it? People like Emily Maitlis and Gary Lineker, like you mentioned, there are a lot of them, and they're getting paid extortionate amounts of public funds. They say, the BBC say they want to compete with commercial outlets. They say they wouldn't get these stars otherwise. But A, that's not true, as in they don't need to compete with commercial outlets anyway. But B, they don't need the stars also. The BBC doesn't need celebrity talent to produce the kind of content that the BBC should be producing, which is public service content. So neither argument stands up in my eyes. It's a waste of money, a huge waste of money. We're talking hundreds of millions of pounds.
Yeah. And also when they've been moving around the country, creating new offices, I know they went up to Manchester, was it Salford? Yeah. And also in Cardiff, where I am, they've just bought a new building, which I don't know what it's cost, but I know it wasn't £50. Which no. 50, 60 million, maybe more. I don't know, but I know it was millions. And you just think, well, hang on a minute. I don't know why they needed to buy a new building. They say it's for new content, but I'm thinking, well, what sort of, I don't know. It just baffles me. It baffles me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an economist myself, but I see them splashing out all this cash, and on the other hand, I see them asking for more money, saying they don't have enough, and it doesn't balance out. It doesn't kind of make sense.
Mm. And can we just talk about like BBC News then, about the propaganda machine that it is? Because I used to watch BBC News years ago, but I stopped now because if it's not doom and gloom, it's not on the BBC News. And I just don't get it. I just don't get the BBC News at all. And like I said, we're funding that, but I just don't know what it's all about.
They seem to have come to a mindset that, being woke is a progressive way of being. I don't think it is, but that's what they're shoving down our throats. And they've kind of reached a point now that they're lecturing the audience, even on the news. You've got Emily Maitlis dictating about Dominic Cummings being a bad guy. And yes, she got a dressing down for it, but she shouldn't have had the opportunity to do that in the first place. And rather than reporting the news, I feel like they want to shape it. They want to be the news these days. And that's a very dangerous place to be.
And they're not impartial at all. They've got no impartiality, and that seems to disappear many years ago.
Yeah.
And it's turned into a joke, a running joke. Anything that the BBC puts out, whether it be news, documentaries, anything. And like I said before, I don't watch it apart from, and I'll keep people thinking he's repeating himself again. He watches that one show, but that's it. I just don't watch it, and I know many people that don't pay for the TV license fee. I can't mention them on this because but they don't pay because they don't watch it. They don't.
Let's get rid of yours, Carl. You need to stop paying it.
Mate, I if you can convince my wife, but it's because 99% of what I watch on TV is recorded, as in, but it's either obviously off a subscription service or I'll do it off Sky Plus. But then people watching this might think, well, can you record something and watch it later? But is it a case of if you record live TV and then watch it later, is that still under the license?
Yeah, still have to pay, unfortunately. Even if you Sky Plus it or Virgin, whatever it, you still got to pay the license fee. It doesn't matter what channel it is. If you're recording live TV, you've got to pay the BBC. Not right, is it?
No, it's not right. I mean, have you come across any sort of crazy figures then about people being prosecuted for not having a TV license fee?
Well, some crazy figures in that 70% of the people that are being prosecuted are women. Whereas if you compare that to the rest of the crimes in this country, under 20% of the prosecuted cases are women. So it seems to be they're going after women in particular. And it looks like they also go after anyone that's vulnerable or anyone that they can exploit. We've had these myths for years that they have these vans outside on the street listening to see if you're watching the BBC and things, and no one truly knows how they test. It's not transparent, and that's on purpose because they want to catch people out, and they want to, if you don't pay, they'll take you to jail. And it's like a mafia, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they catch people out. Well, you probably know yourself. They catch people out because they'll knock on your door, and then a lady was probably a bit more honest than a man. I'm not saying not saying anything. Well, just judging from my wife anyway, my daughter. They're more honest than when I tell a story or try to put a spin on it, so have a laugh. But my wife, daughter, very more honest. When they will let, if someone turns up at the door and said, "I'm a TV inspector, licensed, inspector, can I come in?" and they would say yes. Whereas for me, I would say, no, you're not allowed in because you need a warrant.
That's a good point. You don't have to let them into your house. They have no right to come onto your property. And I don't think enough people know that.
So they can actually put, I know that, but just to get the message across, people watching this, then if anybody does turn up at your door, says, I need to enter your property to see, or do you watch TV? A, what would they say to them? And B, they are not, like you said, they're not allowed to come into the property.
Yeah, I would just say, no, thank you. I don't watch TV. That's it. They have nothing else. They have no rights to come into your property. So close the door and, wish them a good day. And likewise, if you do cancel your TV license, or if you do tick that form to say you don't need one, they still chase people up. Say, are you sure you don't need a license? We're just checking that, you don't still have a license. You should be paying for one. It's really dodgy tactics. I don't like it at all.
And I know, like with the over 75, like you said earlier, they're the vulnerable people because when, I know when you get older, you become more, I don't know, get nervous about things and they don't want to be prosecuted because they're at home and maybe they're watching more TV than because they're not working. I'm not saying everyone who is over 75 doesn't work because I know people that do work still. But they got more time on their hands with the newspapers, which is all mainstream, and they can be they get the spin for the newspapers, propaganda this, propaganda that, the news, but they just more vulnerable. So, but now by them dealing with this, sorry, not dealing, but they're going to then scrap it for the over 75s. They've got that vulnerable person who's then going to be willing to pay because they don't want to have any hassle.
Yeah, I think it's a terrible situation to be in. But also, we didn't have to be here in the first place. You know, the BBC made a deal with the government. They said, look, let us raise our license fee in line with inflation, and let us charge for BBC iPlayer, which is something they didn't do before. They used to just charge for live TV and recorded live TV. Now they've got the on-demand service as part of the package that you have to pay for. So they said, let us do those things, and then we won't have to charge people who are over 75. So the government said, okay, they'll let them raise their fee in line with inflation, and they let them charge for iPlayer. And the BBC have gone back on their word, and now they still want to charge over 75s as well. It's money grabbing.
Yeah. What do you think the next thing will be for them then? What's the next controversial thing they might sort of put out there? Because I don't think you can get any worse than the over 75s, but what do you think they will be doing next?
I'm not sure, but I think, you know, my message to the over 75s would be don't pay it. Let the BBC come after you. Do you really think they're going to start arresting elderly people? I don't think they'd want the press, to be honest with you. But, you know, so they've got that going on. They're tweeting this nonsense. They've got, you know, their propaganda on their news channels. I don't know where we go from here with the BBC. You know, I had an issue with something they put out from Countryfile recently, where they said, you know, that a lot of coloured people don't feel comfortable in the countryside because it's a white environment. And I'm sat there as a coloured person or a BME or what, POC, whatever, myself thinking, huh? What's a white environment? What's a black environment then, BBC? Please let me know so I can go there. Utter nonsense, all of it, isn't it?
It's
sick and tired of it. I think we just need to defund them at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I really am. I could talk all day about how mad it is that it still exists. But do you think they will ever, what was I going to say, start showing adverts and then still try and charge as a license fee?
I don't think they'll have advertisements while they've got this charter. I think it will be against it. But who knows what business model they'll take in the future. And to be honest, I'm not really interested in what model they take. I think they've got to have a consultation with the public and with the government, and they're going to come to some kind of solution. And that's outside of my area, really, of expertise. I think that's for them to work on. All I know is they can't continue with what they've got at the moment. They can't continue forcing people to pay for something that they're not using, and through threat of imprisonment.
And then what sort of dealings have you had with the BBC since you've been involved in this campaign?
They've been pretty quiet towards me. I've had a debate or two with John Amici about what he put out there about white supremacy or white privilege, and how I disagree with that premise. But other than that, yeah, they haven't really engaged with me on anything. I think they're keeping quiet, and you know, they every now and then they put up a tweet saying the BBC is value for money, and they show all the channels that you get on the BBC. But once again, people don't care about all those channels, and people don't want to be forced to pay for all of them. And it's not added value; it's trash.
I think they should get you on to one of these like BBC sort of documentaries or BBC sort of news night.
That would be tricky because I wouldn't trust their editing process. You know, I'd be expecting them to try and get sound bites out of me and cut things together that I didn't say.
It'll be like this. We're just putting in words on your mouth, you know, literally. So yeah.
Exactly. But I mean, I'd be up for debating them anytime, just not on their channel.
But then again, they probably wouldn't put you on there because it's creating a platform for Defund the BBC, and it's like this side, and they don't want any negative publicity at all, do they?
No, but also I don't agree with their approved narrative. You know, as a like I said, as a person of color or BME or whatever, I don't see things in the way that they do, and they have a problem with that because they want everyone to kind of think, you know, there is a approved narrative of the wokerati, if you want to call them, that right now in this country, white people are oppressors and black people and everyone else are the oppressed. And I don't see the world like that. You know, I think we have a very diverse, very inclusive society. We should be happy to live here. And I think this negative spin that they're pushing out is detrimental, actually. And that's why they would never debate me on this topic.
It's increasing tensions because I like you said, I don't see colour as an issue. I see a person as a person. I don't care if you're black, pink, orange, green, turquoise or whatever. It's all down to, you've got to work hard. I come from, working class background. I have to work hard. I don't know what your background, maybe yourself, you went to university, you sort of worked hard at school, and colour doesn't come into it. I don't even go down that path. But
it's divisive, Carl, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just like everything, they have a stance on Brexit as well, in that they've been against it from day one. That's why they're so against Dominic Cummings still. They've got a real grudge to grind there with him. But they will never have a sensible, balanced debate with the equal amount of Brexiteers and the equal amount of Remainers. And they never did throughout the whole referendum, because they want to weight things in their favour. And it didn't work for them, did it? And we're seeing a lot of successes now. We've got this trade deal coming through with Japan, and things are looking good, but they won't report it in a positive light. It's always, despite Brexit, this is happening. It's frustrating is what it is, because the rest of the country, most of the country, do believe in Brexit, obviously, because that's the way we voted. But regardless, the BBC should be producing content that is for the public rather than their own very narrow-minded worldview.
It's like the BBC have got their tail between the legs. They're just running away with their tail between the legs. They've been hurt because they backed their own campaign, and with Brexit, and then obviously lost. Now they, like you said, they just anything. If something would say that, I don't know, there was a 4 in 5 chance of this being a success, they would only report on the 1 in 5 chance of it being not a success. And that's what I get from when I read anything. I do read stuff on the internet, and when BBC sometimes puts something out, I just read it to see the spin there, and then I'll read other news outlets, and you can see what BBC does and then what others are reporting on, and it's childish. It's like schoolboy sort of or school child, tactics.
I think it's quite authoritarian. It's like, this is the correct groupthink, subscribe to this, otherwise you're wrong and bad. Yeah. And it's not just the BBC. A lot of mainstream media are taking this approach at the moment, but the problem is independent outlets are strangled by the BBC because they've got such a monopoly over the whole sector. And that's another thing that we need to get rid of. They should be producing different content, unique content that only they can produce, and leave independents to do their own thing and thrive.
And I hope, something in me thinks that will happen, but I can't see it happening so soon. I just think they need to just get the public back on side, from all areas of the country, and all sort of political sort of preferences, colour, whatever, then an age, I just think they need, but I don't know. I'm hopeful they can, but a part of me thinking maybe it's gone too far now. I just think maybe it's the final nail in the coffin with the over 75s for me.
Yep, scrap them. Let's defund them, Carl.
Yeah, and hopefully that well. Anyway, I hope I've been neutral, but I don't think I have.
Well, they're not, so why should we?
Yeah, exactly. And if my wife can watch this and my family, and then I know loads of people that don't pay the license and they do not watch live TV out of purpose because they don't either want to be prosecuted, which I don't know if they can anyway, because they're not going to let them in the house. But some people used to believe the old myth, like you said earlier, about the TV license vans going around, and my mum even believed that back in the 70s. And I said, the license van in the street, it's probably some builder do some work. But I believe it for 20 years after, into the 90s. And I thought, no way.
Yeah, it's intimidation tactics, isn't it? And they've done it on purpose. Like I say, it's very untransparent. So you don't know how the BBC works and how they actually bring these cases about. And we don't even know exactly how many cases there have been, because they're refusing freedom of information requests. We don't know how many people have cancelled their license fee, although we do know it's in large numbers, but they're really trying to hold the stats to themselves and keep them to the chest, because they don't want people to see that everyone's getting fed up now and people are jumping ship.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know they're not going to give the information out there by freedom of information. So I didn't know that.
Yeah, dodgy.
Okay. So it could be just 10 people. It could be actually nobody,
I think it is in the hundreds of thousands at this point, but they won't give a specific number.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, thank you for your time, Calvin. I really appreciate that.
Not at all, anytime.
And we will talk again, but we'll touch on other topics down the line. But I think it's never updating thing with the BBC and Defund the BBC. Today might be something else, tomorrow completely different, and then come Monday we'll be back to talking about something that happened last week. And I just think it's an ongoing thing. So if I can get it out there to anybody watching this, as Calvin says, you choose. I can't advise, but if you don't want to pay your TV license, don't let them in the house, and don't respond to any letters.
Absolutely. And if I could just say, if you want to get involved, you want to support the campaign, go to our GoFundMe page, which is gofundme.com/defund-the-BBC. And if you've got anything to contribute, anything to say, I am on Twitter at Calvin Robinson.
And also the website for
which is defundbbc.uk.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Calvin. I appreciate that. Thank you.